pleasant evening and a warm welcome to the national news on Channel I. I'm Delanjali Ananda.
A very good evening. I'm Charita Minipurarachi, and let's move on to the headlines for tonight's news.
Second session of the 9th Parliament commences. President calls on all government and opposition parties to unite to overcome the challenges faced by the country. Sovereign bond worth $500 million has been paid, Central Bank Governor says. $500 million worth credit loan from India to purchase crude oil. Oil prices in Gulf region surges to record high after 7 years.
On to those and other stories in detail now, and starting off with local stories. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa called on all government and opposition parties to unite inside as well as outside of Parliament to overcome the challenges faced by the country. The President pointed out that politicians who incite the people against each other for narrow political gains should stop such move at least now. The President made these remarks while inaugurating the second session of the 9th Parliament this morning. As per the instructions of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the new session of Parliament commenced with a focus on traditional activities in a simple ceremony without any gun salutes or vehicle parades. Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardene was received at the Sri Jayawardenepura Kotte Parliamentary Complex by General Secretary Dhammika Dasanayake. The Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa was received by Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardene upon his arrival to the parliamentary complex.
This cultural salute when then be escorted to the General of the Parliament.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa along with First Lady Ayoma Rajapaksa was received at the parliamentary complex by Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardene.
அவருடைய பாரியாரும் இந்த வேளையிலே பார்லிமென்ட்டுக்கு வருகை தந்திருக்கின்றார்கள்.
Students of the Janadipati Balika Vidyalaya at Navala sang Jamangala Gatha and welcomed the President at the main entrance.
Second session, we are now.
Subsequently, the President entered the parliamentary chamber for the inauguration of the second session of the 9th Parliament. Inaugurating the session, the President presented the policy statement of the government to the Parliament. President Rajapaksa said that in his difficult time of global catastrophe, all people representatives have a national responsibility to work together to rebuild the country, and despite the pledges made to fulfill responsibilities within 5 years. The global pandemic resulted in various obstacles. The President pointed out and all emphasized that the government has never forgotten to fulfill its basic responsibilities.
The
President also said that despite the economic difficulties, the government has taken steps to give priority to health of the people and to bear all the necessary expenses. President Rajapaksa said that the government would continue to implement the program launched to eradicate the drug menace, and added that the government had taken steps the last 2 years to curb underworld activities as well. Sri Lanka is a country that has always respected international laws and conventions. The President also said that the government did not support or condone any human rights violations or left from any room for such violations during his tenure. President Rajapaksa said that he rejects racism and the present government wants to protect the dignity and rights of all citizens of the country. The President further added that the primary responsibility of the government is to provide facilities to all people without any discrimination and to establish reconciliation. The President requested all members of Parliament representing the North and East to support the government's program to improve the living standard of the people in their areas by at least temporarily putting aside various political ideologies. If anyone acts with political motive to misinterpret and mislead the public against a foreign investment, it would be detrimental to the country, he added. The president further said that new investments are needed for the development of the country at this moment. President Rajapaksa also said that more efforts should be made in future to attract new investments in selected sectors. The president said that the government has taken steps to increase the capacity of state universities, and he would invite the parliament to initiate a broad debate on whether to allow the establishment of high-quality non-state universities in the country. He added that this country belongs to the people living in present as well as those who live in future, and they are simply the current guardians of the country. President Rajapaksa said that future of this country depends on the way leaders of the country act today, and stressed that they all are responsible to future generations.
The traditional tea party following the President's throne speech for the government and opposition parliamentarians was held at the parliamentary complex. Ambassadors, high commissioners and other diplomats were also present at the occasion.
And meanwhile, the first meeting of the government parliamentary group for the new year was held at the parliamentary premises today. The meeting was presided over by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa presented the government policy statement to the parliament today. Accordingly, a decision was reached at a special meeting held by Speaker Mahinda Rupavahini to schedule the adjournment debate on the statement of government policy tomorrow and day after. Chief Whip of the Government Parliamentary Group, Minister Johnston Fernando, requested the Prime Minister to allocate Friday the 21st for the debate, as the majority of the parliamentary group are prepared to make remarks during the debate. Accordingly, the Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa instructed to schedule the debate on the 21st after briefing the Speaker. Minister Uday Gammanpilla briefed the government parliamentary group over the agreement of the development of the Trincomalee oil tanks. Leader of the House, Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, ministers and state ministers were present at this occasion.
Governor of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Ajit Niwad Kabra, says that Sri Lanka has paid the sovereign bond upon its maturity. Accordingly, Sri Lanka was scheduled to pay $500 million worth sovereign bonds that mature today. The central bank governor mentioned that the relevant transaction has already been completed. Accordingly, the relevant payment will be directed to respective parties today. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa said that the essential goods imports will continue without any disruptions amidst debt repayments. The minister made these remarks during an interview held by an English newspaper. The minister has further indicated that the country has performed $21 billion worth imports last year, while earning over $12 billion from exports.
And India has extended a credit loan facility worth $500 million to Sri Lanka for the purchase of crude oil-based products. Directing a letter to Minister Professor G.L. Peiris, India has confirmed this issue assistance to Sri Lanka. Attention has been directed in this regard during a virtual meeting held between Minister Basil Rajapaksa and India's Minister of Foreign Relations Dr. S. Jaishankar on the 15th. Accordingly, the Indian High Commission in Sri Lanka has indicated the discussions were held over various sectors related to strong economic cooperation between the countries. The accelerated measures taken to provide the credit loan facility was an outcome of Minister Basil Rajapaksa's recent visit to India. India recently assisted Sri Lanka with more than $900 million worth foreign exchange. The Indian High Commissioner said that these measures emphasize the commitment of India to further strengthen the bilateral economic and trade cooperation and extended assistance for the Sri Lanka's economic development.
Minister Gamini Laguge says negotiations are underway with relevant parties for the continuous supply of fuel required for Ceylon Electricity Board. Speaking at a media briefing today, he said that a power interruption will not occur following successful negotiations. Minister Gamini Laguge said that negotiations are underway with the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank over the releasing of an oil ship brought in by the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. He said that the Central Bank has said that the necessary measures will be taken to release the relevant oil ship by this evening. Accordingly, he said that the Minister of Power and the Chairman of Ceylon Petroleum Corporation agreed to provide necessary oil quantities sufficient for power generation to avoid any future interruptions. The minister also said in case of emergency power outages, a power interruption schedule will be announced for the convenience of the public.
Moving to the local update of the COVID-19 pandemic, health authorities emphasize that the country can progress ahead without disruption the socio-economic activities following the strict adherence to health guidelines. Health authorities have urged those who are yet to be inoculated for COVID-19 to receive their respective vaccines without any delay. A total of 34,836,372 vaccine doses have been inoculated to the people in the country under the COVID-19 immunization program. Accordingly, 16,208,326 persons have received the first dose of the vaccine, while 13,873,905 have received both the doses. A total of 4,754,141 have received the booster dose thus far. The Director General of Health Services confirmed COVID-19 related deaths, 13 deaths which had occurred yesterday.
Former Bishop of Chilao, Reverend Father Dr. Valence Mendes, has been installed as the 7th Bishop of Kandy. The solemn installation of Reverend Father Dr. Valence Mendes was held yesterday at St. Anthony's Cathedral, Kandy, at a ceremony presided over by Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit. The Vatican announced the appointment of Reverend Dr. Valence Mendes as the Bishop of Kandy by His Holiness Pope Francis, succeeding Bishop Vianney Fernando on his retirement. Born and bred in Boratua, Reverend Dr. Valence Mendes ordained as a priest for the Diocese of Chilao on July 20, 1985. He was temporarily transferred to the Diocese of Kandy by the late Bishop Frank Marcus Fernando. Following his tenure at the National Seminary, he proceeded to Rome in September 1992 to read for a doctorate in philosophy at the Urban University. He returned to the National Seminary in October 1994 and was appointed the Dean of Philosophy. Having served the National Seminary as its first director of philosophy art in October 2000 and thereafter as the rector from February 4, 2001, he was ordained the Kanduda Bishop of Chilao on April 2, 2005. He then succeeded as the Bishop of Chilao on October 28, 2006.
And with that, we conclude tonight's news. Choose tomorrow at the very same time. Stay safe. Good night.
Good night.